What's up, everybody? How are you this evening? This is Brown Sugar Confessions coming to you every Wednesday night on Power 1017. And if you're missing us live on Power, go to our YouTube channel to like and subscribe and follow us there because you can see my crazy 70s eyeshadow that looks horrible. I keep telling Miss T it's a
She's
hot mess.
worried about this eyeshadow. The
It's ugly,
eyeshadow
Miss
is
T.
fine.
I look like Pam Anderson with excessive eyeshadow. I don't know what I was thinking, but anywho, go to YouTube, like, subscribe, and share us. And we are coming to you on Power this evening. If you notice, we're missing somebody. We don't have the beautiful Treese with us. Treese is out and about in the world doing whatever Treese does. We miss you, love, and we will see you next week. So this is happy post 4th of July show. We hope everyone had a wonderful 4th of July. You got all your barbecue in, did all your celebrations. And we are here tonight to talk to you about love and sex and relationships. And basically anything we can think of talking about, we're going to do this evening. So let's first bring up the beautiful Miss T, all the way from Atlanta. How are you tonight, love?
Oh man, my vibe has been kind of down for these past couple of weeks, and it'll tie into what we're talking about a little bit for our subject matter for today. But outside of that, I don't know if it's the weather, I don't know what it is, but I'm just ready to take a nap, but I ain't going to do that until after the show. So I'm gonna try to keep my vibe up, but we're gonna get into some interesting things tonight. So I can't wait.
All right, Miss T, yes, don't take a nap during the show. That's like really bad for our marketing and
I
stuff.
mean,
I mean, wake the heck up.
you got a nice voice, Doc Val. Your voice is very soothing. So
Is it?
if I'm not off, it's not my fault.
It is your fault.
It's not
Wake
my
your
fault.
behind up.
You're lulling me to sleep over here.
That's why we're on so late. So my voice can put y'all to sleep out there in radio land. KD, what's up with you from Delaware?
Well, just had a wonderful almost week off thanks to what we call at the place I'm at a disconnect. So we were closed for few days for the holiday season. So got to do a little bit of travel, got to have some wonderful food, spend time with family and take naps. So
We're like
yeah,
babies. We take naps.
naps. That's what happens. You get to a certain age and all of a sudden you need naps to
Naps
keep
are essential, man.
Oh, we're like babies take naps, and here you are being adults and we're taking naps. I'm with the nap story. I love it. Go ahead, KD.
naps is like it's like a warm hug.
It
It's such a
is.
wonderful thing. I think it's so overlooked. Like they call it, we used to call it beauty sleep. You need your beauty sleep. If you want to try to keep the wrinkles down and feel your best self, you got to have those naps. They're important.
I totally agree with you. I'm all about the napping at 3 o'clock. I'm like, I just need a 15-minute, what we call them, power naps.
Power nap.
That
Y'all
turns in
can
like
do
an
15
hour.
minutes. I need at least an
And
hour.
nice and healthy.
Yeah.
Speaking of keeping your skin nice and healthy, that kind of goes right into the hot topic I have for today.
Oh, what's your
Mhm.
hot topic?
So we're gonna start off with keeping it very um let's just say cosmetolic. I just made up a word, but whatever.
Cosmetolic.
I
Okay.
like that. Cosmetology. Okay. Cosmopolitan and cosmo. Okay. Put it together. All right. Talk about it. Whatever.
So read this article and this lady she has a I always struggle with this
Esthetician.
esthetician that she sees regularly to kind of do the things on her skin to kind of help with her acne scars and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she had recently changed her facial soap because she usually has a very high end one that she uses, but she ran out. So she went to the store and got just the cheap stuff off the shelf to hold her over, and she thought that would be fine. So she goes into the office to get her face taken care of. And the woman was looking at her face and she says, "Let me ask you something. Have you been using a new soap on your face?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Why do you ask?" "Well, I've just started finding these beads in your pores, and I'm pretty sure that's from the soap you're using." Come to find out, she was using this Neutrogena soap with the beads. It's like a grapefruit soap with beads. It's like it comes in a little jar. I've seen it before because I've used it. It's like $3 in the store. So it comes with these beads, and the beads are supposed to like help clean your pores out. That's the whole point of it.
Aren't they supposed to
Okay.
dissolve too?
They're supposed to dissolve, and one of the things they say that's kind of like their selling point is that it is not plastic and that it won't get stuck in your pores or cause, it's not comedogenic, basically. Like it won't cause your skin to clog up. But she found them in her pores and come to find out like it was actually starting to cause like problems. So the acne she was starting to develop was because of the soap that she was using. So I say all that to say, I forget sometimes personally, but please, for all of our listeners, make sure you be very cautious about the kinds of soap and things you're using on your face if you care about that kind of stuff. Because something just as simple, even though it's on the shelf and it says, hey, this won't cause your skin to clog up, once she pulled that stuff out of her skin, she saw all this dirt underneath and everything. So you got to be very careful about the products you use on your skin.
That's real true. Especially in the summertime, I notice I always break out, and I have to actually change my skincare regimen in the summertime because I just am so susceptible to breaking out. Probably from all the mosquito repellent I'm using and the skin so soft I'm using. You put it on your skin, then you're touching your skin, then you touch your face, and I'm always having these little breakouts. So, thank you, KD, for that hot topic. So everyone out there listening, check your face, check your cleanser,
Or wash your face more than once.
Yeah,
and
truly.
have a good toner, because that'll take off some of the extra sweat and dirt also when you're washing.
I don't even use a toner. I probably should. I know it's not. I know it's supposed to be a part of my regimen, but I skip that. I don't know why. I
Toner
just
is
feel like
important.
I know it is. It balances your pH of your skin, right?
Well, it's not. I won't really say it balances pH. Well, it depends on what kind of wash and moisturizer you're using, but the toner is good for getting, like if you're wearing makeup, getting extra makeup off, getting extra sweat and dirt, kind of like just reducing inflammation, especially if you use rose water. That's great for inflammation of your skin. So
I've heard
that's
of that.
something to check into. But
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to talk tonight about something that, I think Miss T brought it up that, it's been heavy. I think the whole country right now is pretty heavy, especially if you are concerned about women's rights. We are going to talk about the overturn from the Supreme Court of Roe versus Wade on this show.
Yeah,
that was rough. I don't want to go into politics, but I do want to go into talking about what it means for people that are affected by this ban, what it looks like for our future, and what we can do, if anything. So let's get into it, and let's just jump right into it. It's going to be a hot topic. It's going to be a long show. It's going to be informative. And no matter where you are, YouTube, make a comment, go to Facebook, make a comment. And a matter of fact, on YouTube next Thursday at 11 o'clock, we're going to premiere this show on YouTube. And we want to invite the viewers to come on and actually chat with us on YouTube. And let's talk about it as a community. Number one, were you impacted by this? And what are our futures going to look like for women that are for women's rights? So let's just jump right into it. Miss T, you run it with it.
All right. So if you're not familiar with Roe versus Wade, here's a little background on it, because I actually had to look it up. Like, I understood what Roe v. Wade was. I did not know how it got started. I didn't really kind of know the background of it. So this is what essentially has happened. In an overview, so in 1969, there was a woman who was going under the pseudonym at this time called Jane Roe, who she challenged the criminal court of abortion law in Texas. So it started in Texas, of all places, which I found very interesting. So what had happened was she had already had 2 children, where she had a situation where she was SA'd. and was pregnant with her third child. She wanted to have that pregnancy aborted, but she was rejected and forced to give birth to that third child. So she made an appeal to the Supreme Court. And her case was also brought alongside the case of another woman who lived in Georgia. So what happened was they argued that the abortion laws in Texas and Georgia went against the US Constitution because they infringe on a woman's right to privacy. So at the time, the vote went 7-2, and the court justices ruled that the government lacked power to prohibit abortions at that time. So that essentially made it a woman's right to terminate her pregnancy was at the time protected by the Constitution. So what happened now, as in a couple of weeks ago, the Supreme Court has now ruled in favor of Mississippi's ban on abortions after 15 weeks. And in doing that, it effectively ended the constitutional right to an abortion for a lot of women. So now individual states are able to ban the procedure again, should they choose. So it is expected that half of the states in the US are expected to introduce new restrictions or bans into if you can have abortion, or when in your pregnancy, if you are, expecting a child, when you can have an abortion. So a lot of people are worried because, one, this may make it harder for some women to have access to an abortion, whether it be by assault, whether it be by incest, whether it be by this may not be the time to have a child because you can't afford a child type situations, and they might not be able to receive any help once they have, said child. A lot of people are worried because this could lead to an influx of children into the foster system. And I don't know if you guys know, the foster system sometimes ain't the best place to be as a child, regardless of where you are. Mm-hmm. And then also kind of, I guess, in an unexpected way, this does kind of give the question of what's going to happen to all the fathers who may be responsible for said pregnancies. Are they going to be, I don't want to say persecuted, but are they going to be responsible for what happens to, that child because of the mother being unable to, in her pregnancy before the child was able to be born. So those are some of the things that are up in the air about with the overturn of Roe v. Wade.
I know that Justice Alito, I think his name is Alito, right? Alito. He was one of the justices that really was in favor of overturning Roe versus Wade. And some of the words that I heard him say, that it must be overturned, that it was exceptionally weak and damaging, and that it amounted to an abuse of judicial authority. I think he wrote almost, was it a 70-page document about why this is so important, for that the Supreme Court had to step in and overturn what had been in place to protect women's rights for over a century. So individuals like my granddaughter, who was 13, she is not going to have the same freedom that I had at 60. Now, isn't that something else? If you think about how reverse that is and how we've gone back in time, and now this is going to be, Ahalito, thank you, Katie, and how we've gone back in time, and now this is going to be the most charged conversation in the US when it comes to our next election, talking about women's rights again. And I think that it's also important that, Justice Clarence Thomas, who was appointed by President Bush, and then there was Justice Neal, and then Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Barrett, and Chief Justice John Roberts. They were the ones that were really an advocate to overturn Roe versus Wade.
Right.
And as you mentioned, Ms. T, that it really came into play because of the law in Mississippi, which banned abortions after 15 weeks. And they're calling that decision a serious jolt to the legal systems. And on the flip side of that, you had Justices Breyer, Justices Kagan, who was appointed by Obama, and then was it Sotomayor? I might pronounce the name.
Sotomayor.
Okay, Sotomayor, who were the justices that were really wanted to keep Roe versus Wade on the books. And I'm quoting here. It says, from the very moment of fertilization, a woman has no right to speak of. A state can force her to bring a pregnancy to term, even at the steepest personal and familiar cost. And, here's what I want to say to that. When will politics get out of the womb of a woman? When will this ever happen? When do we have the right to choose? I don't know a woman yet, and I've known many women that have chosen to have an abortion. I don't know any one of them that have woken up and said, you know what? Today, I think as a woman, I'm going to go out and have an abortion because it's a part of my growth plan. It's not a choice that we sit up and think about that we want to have. It's not like something we plan like a marriage. It's not something that we plan like graduation. It's not something like we plan like buying a car for the first time. It is an occurrence in a woman's life where she chooses that at this point in her life, now is not the time for her to go through a pregnancy.
You know what I do wonder?
Whatever that choice might be. What, Miss T?
I do wonder if this is going to actually lead to kind of like things that you wouldn't think of, like men deciding to get more vasectomies because they realize if your pull-out game is weak, you're like, I don't want to risk it, so let me just go ahead and get 2 snips just to be on the safe side. Or if people are going to just stop having sex altogether, because of it, because they want to take the risk.
I will say that I was reading something yesterday that vasectomies have gone up by 90%.
But I mean, we're like still couple of weeks. This only happened like a couple of weeks ago. Like,
yeah, it's still
we need
new.
more. Yeah, it's still new. I feel like 90%, we need like more data. Like, is that going to be the same amount of numbers that's going to happen in like a month, 6 months, a year?
Absolutely. 90% is a big increase for men getting vasectomies.
And then it's like, thing what I noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. More demographics has to come out. And I'm sure it will be. There's going to be
there's a certain amount of groups in terms of women, like especially ethnic groups, that are going to be more affected by this.
Mm-hmm. Your Latinx community, your African American community, your Asian community, all of those that are marginalized will have an impact. And those that are in a financial situation, those women will also be impacted. And there will be just women impacted all over the US. So what does it really mean for us to have this overturned? And what can we do, if anything? So, these are the things that we're going to talk about during this show. And as I said to you, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, we don't really care. It's not even important. What you should care about is the choice that the uterine presenting individuals in your life have to make. Imagine if you had a minor in your home that was assaulted and this minor was forced now to give birth.
What if they made a mistake? What if they made a mistake?
Question. What if you made a mistake as a young person and you didn't have the protection that you didn't know that you needed, or just made a mistake, and now here you are, pregnant and not quite sure where to go.
Are shotgun weddings going to become a thing again?
You never know. How crazy is this going to be? Are people going to be forced to go across state lines.
What if you
to
knock
get
your mistress
abortions.
up?
Oh my. Now that's
What if
something.
that's the big one? What if you knock your mistress up?
Oh, on brown sugar,
And-
we want to know.
And what if she decides to let the world know you got a surprise child or two
Woohoo.
or five because your pullout game is weak?
Woohoo. Yeah, the pullout game don't work anyway. We do not recommend that as a form of birth control. So don't even use it. Go get some real contraception because the pullout method, it does not work, ladies and gents. We're just letting you know right now.
Oh, and also that's the other thing, because I think they were saying some politicians were kind of coming for birth control and contraceptives now.
Well, that's a lot of the conversation that people are talking about. What's next? What is next? This law was on the books for over a century, right?
No,
What
it's the 60s,
is-
like 50,
okay.
50-ish years.
So what is next? It's a half a century. What's next?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Where does that come into play? Is segregation? I've heard someone mention that. Are you going to come after segregation next?
Are you going to come after interracial marriages?
Are you going to come after interracial marriages? Are you going to come after same-sex marriages? You've opened up such a can of worms. And honestly, where do we go next? So many of us, I have many clients that have chosen to have abortions. I've had many friends that have chosen. There is no shame, no judgment, no guilt. It is a woman's right to choose when it's the right time or if it's the right time for her to give birth, not the U.S. Constitution to come in and intervene in a circumstance that you probably are ignorant and you have the money that can allow you to go across the world to get a procedure done. You have the race that you're not maybe perhaps impacted by this, but for those that are, where was the thought for them, or were they not thought about? And how many people it's affecting? I know personally within my own practice, when it came out a couple of weeks ago, I had 5 ladies that had scheduled abortions at a clinic that I know of because they were so worried that their adjoining state was going to ban them from getting an abortion. So they got it done much sooner than I even think they realized they wanted to get it done. They just were so afraid that they didn't want to have the extra month, an extra couple of weeks for them to make that real decision. They just jumped onto it and decided to go ahead and get it done before it was banned in their particular state. So some people are reacting.
What I found out was also kind of interesting?
What's that?
I believe I saw this on social media. So Radio Land, YouTube Land, you guys fact check me on this, but they were saying because our constitution was actually based off of England or Great Britain's constitution when everybody first came over to what's now the United States. So abortion wasn't even in the constitution. Like any person could go for any reason and get one. But it was when we became more into Christian nationalism. That's when it became a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was actually going back and looking at some doctoral work on the history of abortion because it was really quite fascinating to understand, when in the U.S. abortion policy came into play. When was it something that we should actually, put and pass a law on? And when I was going back and doing some research, which we'll talk about in the second half, and why it was actually formed, because abortions have been around, or women choosing to forgo their pregnancy before term. Ancient Egyptians did it, ancient Greece, ancient whatever. What's other country? China. Yeah. There are many cultures and countries that utilize things and medicines, whatever in their culture, to help them move along the process of aborting the fetus. And
it's
so
a
this
whole
hasn't
process.
been around.
It's not just like you get in, you get out. There's a whole process to it. Like you gotta do kind of like your mental work, your emotional work, because at this point you kind of know what you're doing, so you have to make sure that you are okay with what's going to happen.
So, we got to go pay some bills, but we're going to come right back into this. We're going to continue this conversation on Brown Sugar Confessions that you can only get live on Power 1017. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody, to Brown Sugar Confessions on Power 1017. So I want to make sure that all you listeners remember to like, share, and follow us. Make sure if you have any questions that you are sending your questions to brownsugarconfessions@gmail.com, especially if you want them addressed on the radio show. Additionally, if you have any questions specifically for our wonderful doctor here, Dr. Val, make sure you reach out to her at Valerie, that's VALERIE, at Swan Center with 2 N's.com. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. We're on Instagram, right? Yes, we are.
We on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're on it.
On Facebook. It's always going to be the same, Brown Sugar Confessions. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You need to be on all those things because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up here soon and you don't want to miss it. Just in case you miss a night, make sure you are following us on all of our platforms and be in the know. So I heard Miss T has a topic she wants to discuss.
We're sitting here talking about being in the know. Did you all know that we are currently going through a tampon shortage right now?
But you know what's so funny about that? Just recently, I have been on a mission to get away from those things. So years ago, I was able to find sponges on the shelf, like the sea sponges, but they pulled them all out of the US. And I didn't understand why I couldn't find them anywhere and they got pulled. So now I found these lab-made sponges that I got shipped from Germany. I think it was actually. So, and these things are amazing because I hate cups. I hate discs. They're all
I am intrigued. Before I get into this, how does that work?
Yeah, how does the sponge thing work?
It's a sponge. It's like using a tampon, except it's not cotton. It's a plastic sponge material, so to speak. So
do you throw it away?
Yeah. Now
it's disposable?
It is disposable. These are supposed to be disposable. They used to, and they're still available on Amazon, but they're not shown to be tampons anymore because I guess the government got involved and said, no, you can't really push these for that purpose. But they have these things called sea sponges. They're called sea pearls, and they are supposed to be reusable. So you're supposed to take it out, wash it off, clean it up, and reuse it again. But anyways, I went completely off topic. There's a shortage.
Yeah, there's
a me. Contact. I can tell you, I've tried every kind of tampon you can imagine. So if you have questions, make sure you send them to brownsugarconfessions@gmail.com. I can point you in about 1,000 different directions if you are running short of tampons.
Yeah, Radio Land, YouTube Land. If you guys are looking for something outside of a cup, a disc, and a tampon, reach out to KD over there. She'll hook you up. But the reason we are kind of going through this tampon shortage, apparently because we have inflation, go figure, and we are also kind of still having our supply chain problems, and that in case of tampons go to specifically cotton and plastic, the two things that usually most tampons have. So there are shortages in the supply chain for both cotton and plastic, and that has actually led to tampon prices increasing by 10%. There was a Reddit user who said, I haven't seen any products in stores for months, and she had been ordering her tampons on Amazon, and it looks like they were getting price gouged, like the price has shot up sky high for them. So if you are looking for your feminine products and you find them, you might want to get them or get as much as you think you're going to need for the next couple of months, because it does not look like those prices are going down, and they will probably start going out really soon. So if you are looking to step away from tampons, now might be the time to choose other methods for your cycle needs.
Wow. So we've gone from having formula shortages, there's tampon shortages, and Roe versus Wade. What is going
Yeah,
on
it's
in the
not looking
U.S.
good.
with
It's not
women?
looking good
What's
for the home team.
no,
No, right.
what is up with them taking care of women? I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Hey,
getting a little rough
listen,
out here.
I'm kind of advocating for free bleeding if you can. I know that it's not
no,
realistic for a lot of people, but
no.
look,
I see that on TikTok. I follow this girl that, this is way past me because, it is what it is. Free bleeding. So for those that don't know what free bleeding is, and I'm one of those that don't know. Katie, what is free bleeding?
Sounds
so
like what we're saying. You are freely bleeding all over the place.
that's basically it. So now here's the thing. So I'm not an extremist in anything I believe in. I always like do the middle ground. But there are people who are very serious about the idea of free bleeding. So free bleeding is when you're not using hygiene, feminine hygiene products, and you're kind of just letting it go. So some people do it to the extent, I think there are people who are doing it out of protest to a certain degree to kind of bring awareness to the fact that there are women that have no choice but to free bleed because they don't have access to feminine products.
Yeah.
So to kind of be to help make people aware, they do it for that reason. But there are people who just do it all the time, no matter how heavy their cycle is, nor how light it is. They choose to not use feminine products and to just bleed through their clothes or whatever. I actually will say that I've used the method, so to speak, but not really because I'm home. I work from home most of the time. So if I am not at a very heavy portion of my cycle, I tend to try to avoid the use of products if I don't have to. So I'm usually wearing skirts most of the time, and I'm kind of sitting down or laying down. And if it's not super heavy, it's not really necessary for me. This is me to wear it all the time. And I may, what they say, free bleed. And I just, use a lot of washing and a lot of cleansing to minimize stuff getting to other places. And that's kind of one method of reducing the amount of cotton and products that I'm using to minimize my carbon footprint, so to speak.
Wow, that's quite aggressive. I guess a great. I don't know. I guess the word aggressive isn't good, but that's a great plan.
Aggressive. Oh goodness. I don't know if I could do that. Only because I'm a heavy bleeding individual, so there would be no way I would be able to get anything done. Like literally I would just be sitting on the pot all day
Bleeding.
bleeding.
And
Bleeding.
I am a no bleed individual, so I
You ain't got to
cannot
worry
really
about it.
no, I don't worry about my grandbaby. But yeah, I heard this free bleeding thing. It definitely is a thing. But that's pretty conscious of you, Katie. I didn't want to say aggressive, but it's very conscious of you. And I heard you mention your carbon footprint. Look at you all like
Yeah.
environmentally techie and everything. Go ahead, Miss. I'm impressed,
I
Katie.
try a little bit. I just started my vegetable garden too, so
Oh,
my
snap,
thing
son,
over
we'll
here.
be growing.
Go ahead, do you, baby girl, do you? I love it. All right. So, Miss T, what else? What other hot topic did you have? You had something else
Oh
you wanted to
man,
talk
so we
about.
were talking about being aggressive.
Yeah, great segue. Ooh.
Being aggressive. So here was something that I thought was actually pretty interesting because I know you, Doc Val, are always on the high seas having an adventure. So
Yes, I am.
there was apparently a 60-person scuffle that was sparked by jealousy over a threesome on the Carnival cruise that was caught on camera. If you go to Twitter, you can find this video. It's actually very interesting considering that cruise ships, even though there's a lot of things to do on a cruise ship, there's not that much space. So essentially what had happened was,
What had happened was,
and part of it got caught on camera. So apparently there was some individuals who had a threesome on a Carnival cruise. And I don't know if it was jealousy. I'm like between like 3-4 different articles trying to piece this together. So if anybody has any more information to add to this, comment, like, and subscribe, comment, fill me, Miss T, on the T, so that I can figure out what exactly is going on. But anyways, so there was a fight that essentially was sparked by allegations of cheating. So apparently there was a threesome on the ship. and
Mhm.
somebody's partner or somebody got confronted by one of their partners, and the other threesome participant partners were also there. So everybody started fighting, right? So that's at least 6 people fighting. And then that fought, because it was on the 5th floor cabin club of the ship, that fight kind of like spread among everybody else that was in the cruise's club. So then it ended up being a 60-person fight that went from the 5th floor all the way down to the 1st floor. And poor security, because there's only so much security that you can have on the ship. So they were pretty much outnumbered, because everybody's like, throwing bowls and everything at this point. It was a hot mess. So if you want to see some ignorance, go to Twitter and find the video of the cruise. It's very interesting.
Can we put that video on our channel so people can see it? Is that possible? Can you do that? I think we can.
We either that, or we can like reference the link.
All right,
we'll
do either one
that way.
Because you guys have got to see this video, because it's absolutely like crazy. You're on vacay and here you got a bunch of people fighting because they trying to be swingers on a regular children carnival cruise. It don't work, people. It just don't work. But let me tell you what I do know about cruise. I do know something. Not about that incident, but about cruising. So I recently heard, I haven't checked it out myself, because I'm all about the know, that there is a site. I don't know the name of the site. I'm not holding it from y'all. I just don't know it. But when I find out, I'll post it. I promise. That you can go to, and you can tell them that you're on a Carnival cruise, you're on a Royal Caribbean cruise, and that you are looking for a hookup on this cruise.
Oh, wow.
So yes, so it's regular folks. So it's swingers, it's BDSM people, it's all like, kinds of whatever.
It's like FetLife for the high seas.
It's FetLife for the high seas. Why she say it like that? Yes.
I mean,
it is. They like, people are like in the audience like, what's FetLife? What's FetLife, Misty? Since you brought it up.
I mean, FetLife is where the kinky people go to kink.
So FetLife is it's a platform where you go register and you can go meet other people that are into BDSM, whether you're a top or bottom or dom or sub. You can go and get your kink on. So basically, it's like that, but it's not a swingers cruise. It's not a swingers resort. It's regular folks just cruising around that are looking for hookups. And I've been told that they're using the upside down pineapple as their signal to hook up, because the upside down pineapple is what lifestyle or swingers use as like kind of their little mascot or logo, is the upside down pineapple.
That's your everywhere. Go ahead. So you see upside down pineapples and be like, hey.
Yeah, that's the go ahead. That's like, oh, you in that. Okay, I'm in that too. Upside down pineapple. So that's what I've been told. I haven't checked it out. But if you find this website, if y'all use this website, let us know, because I'm actually quite intrigued that regular Carnival cruise got people going on these cruise ships and just hooking up.
I mean, I'm not mad at getting where you fit in. However, there's like a whole, as we found out through Dog Val, there's cruise ships that are dedicated for this type of thing. You want to go, you want to swing, you got a whole 7-day cruise of people just like you who also want to swing. Have at it, my guy. But why you want to go on a Carnival cruise for this?
Why you want to go with little kids running around?
Right.
And,
is that the kink? You just want to be in family friendly environment?
I don't know what that is. That's maybe people not knowing. But if y'all want to know about some lifestyle cruises and events, just send us an email. We keep abreast like what's going on, where the latest cruise is, where the latest destination is. If you want to be among sexy, positive sex people,
and you don't want to get into 60 people fights,
right? You don't want to get into 60 people fight. We got the info. Save yourself bail money. Contact us.
And they probably got better food.
Katie laughing. Yeah, they got good food.
Money.
Save yourself some bail money.
You can use to upgrade and go to a different kind of cruise.
Exactly. Use that money, upgrade, and come on to one of these swinger cruise that we can hook y'all up on. We know everywhere that you can go. destinations for sexy vacations where you can be nude, you can do you. You don't have to do this on Carnival or World Caribbean, not unless it's dedicated for it. Come on now. And
Right.
plus, you don't know what you're doing because you're getting in fights anyway. So obviously, you need to be following us. You can learn about the lifestyle and what it means and how not to have jealousy in the lifestyle.
Be more of a lover and not a fighter. And lesson of that, clearly threesomes are not for everybody.
No, there's rules. You got to follow rules.
There are levels to these levels.
There are. It's etiquette. It's etiquette. It's rules. It's negotiation. You just can't be jumping up in. How do you say, Miss T? Slipping and sliding an orgy.
You can't just slip and slide into anybody's orgy. First of all, do you even have the correct oil to get into this orgy?
I've used that so many times, that phrase, slipping and sliding in an orgy. I've used that so much because I think we should have it on a t-shirt.
Can't just slip and slide into anybody's orgy, everybody.
You just can't slip and slide. So I love that phrase. So yes, hook us up. Contact us at brownsugarconfessions@gmail.com. Send me an email, Valerie@Swan Center. Go to YouTube, follow us, like us, subscribe, and we can hook y'all up out there, Royal Caribbean and Carnival, whatever else sees you on. We know people. We got places to go that are very friendly to whatever your lifestyle may be. Gay cruises, whatever. We got you covered. Don't worry about it. Just contact us.
We got you, Boost. We got you. All right. So going back into our topic of the show. So we talked about what is Roe v. Wade? What does the Roe v. Wade being overturned mean? And we're kind of getting to the point where it's like, now that we kind of know, as we say, the good, the bad, and the ugly, now what can we do? Men, women, people who identify as both or neither, what can we do during these trying times? Because let's be real, this is going to be trying times for a lot of people. And also, how does this work within the Constitution? I believe KD, we were having a short conversation of it, and I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. I need to know more.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. One of the reasons why this became a subject within the Supreme Court is because, typically speaking, states obviously have rights, and we have federalism within the United States. So that means, despite the fact that we are one country, each state has the capability to make their own laws. And the only time the government or the federal government typically comes in and changes or tells a state you have to follow a law as if it's a specific law that they make breaks the Constitution. So the reason why this made it to the Supreme Court is because in the original case, they argued that a woman has a right to privacy, and their right to privacy within the Constitution makes it so a state does not have a right to violate their privacy and their capability to get an abortion. A lot of states and a lot of people really believe that this really isn't a privacy issue, because obviously if there is potentially what people consider to be another person involved or eventual person involved, then you don't have the right to privacy for that. Additionally, because of states' rights, they're basically saying that this is not really like abortion is a subject on its own, and it's not really right to privacy. Even though Roe v. Wade is currently sort of revoked, so to speak, we do still have states and the capability to vote the proper people in to reflect what you believe. And if you believe, no matter what state you're in, that this is something that should be fought for, you can vote the proper people in to help ensure that your particular state can have access to those things. So I know that I was driving around in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is known to be fairly conservative in certain parts, but it's still typically liberal, especially since Philadelphia and a few other states are very liberal. They have signs that basically is reminding people, the government has put signs up to remind people that this state still has access to abortions, and they plan to keep it that way. If you live in a state that currently has plans to block, then you need to make sure that you go out and vote, and you go out and speak
Absolutely.
to your representatives and let them know that even if you are a religious person, even if you are a conservative, this is something that you still think is important. Even if you personally would never get one, you still think that there are instances where people would want one. You need to make sure your voice is heard, because this isn't the end all be all. There's still plenty of options to ensure that each state has access. It's going to now be on a state by state level instead of a federal mandate.
Right, right. Really great points, KD. And I know when Supreme Justice Alito, is that how you say his name? Alito, I believe is how
Alito.
you pronounce Alito.
Mhm.
Okay. You know, his 78-page opinion, where he talked about it seemingly leaves no authority uncited as support for the proposition that there is no inherited right to privacy or personal autonomy in various provisions in the Constitution. So that leads it right back into what KD was talking about. So as you mentioned, Ms. T, what can you do? You can vote, whether it's your local elections, our state, our federal. We need to vote. We need to be proactive, not just sit back and thinking your vote doesn't matter, because your vote does matter. And it's time to exercise our voices. If you care about the rights of women, and if you care about rights, right? This is a time to speak up and to be heard. And how we can be heard is by going to the ballot box and casting our ballots. And I hope everyone does. And I know that there are many organizations out there. I've seen Lizzo is doing one where what she donated $500,000. Was it to Planned Parenthood, to some organization, and then they matched it to help women be able to travel to get the procedure if they want it. So there are so many resources that people are stepping out now to help women that don't know where to go, where they're confused about what their state will and will not have. So don't get overwhelmed. Don't get discouraged. You know, take care of yourself, take care of your body, and use your vote so that we could all make a difference to help each other.
So that covers generally everybody, her, him, them, whoever,
Mm-hmm.
if they decide not to be
All the
identified.
pronouns that I didn't mention in this call, because I said call, but in this talk, yeah, I missed all those pronouns, Miss T.
Yeah. But yes, definitely vote. If you have the time to schedule a meeting with your local representative, do, because a lot of times we'll call the offices. You may not be able to get in touch with anybody, especially by call or email or writing mail. But if you schedule and you show up, they have to listen. They have to listen.
Exactly.
So
Mhm.
even if everybody's taking it 5 minutes at a time, I got them at 12. All right. Person A's got them at 12:05. Person B's got them at 12:15. Do what you need to do to make your voice heard. So what are some things that, if you are a female, a Lotus holder, or identify as female, what are some things that you can do at this time?
What do you mean? Like, what are some things we can do?
What are some things we can do? Like, okay, so is this a time to build a support system? Is this a time to find where your local, or if Planned Parenthood or places where you might have to have an abortion, are they going to be in your state? Do you need to travel out of state? If you need to travel out of state, what do you need to do, or do you need to know? Are there
That's a
any
good
replication
question.
or implications for this?
That's a really good question. They talked a lot about trigger bans, um, newer laws pushed through by anti-abortion right legislators in many states in anticipation that this would be overturned. And I think the biggest thing that we can do so that people have the right to choose whatever procedure they want to have done is, first, you need to talk to your doctor, honestly, right now. And I heard that a lot of doctors are also confused about what they can and cannot offer. Have you guys heard that? Like what they can and
I
cannot
haven't,
suggest?
no.
I saw that on TikTok where a couple of doctors were talking about, how is this going to affect them in the medical community? They have to report someone that perhaps had an abortion. How is that going to look for them? So there's so many. I think this opened up more a can. I don't want to use the word, but I'm gonna say a can of worms
It's a
because
big
there's
can of
so
worms.
many. Yeah,
It's not even a can,
there's
it's a bucket.
there's so many different types of laws now and questions that can arise from this. So I think we're only at the beginning of understanding the throwback from what can happen since this was overturned. Um, and I guess, and I hate to say it, I want to get into some more topics on this and go into the history a little bit, and answer not Katie's, but Miss T's question about what we can do. But Katie just told me we're out of time.
Yeah, if nothing else, we can maybe touch on it a little more in future shows.
Yeah, we can.
Because we are going to be following this as it unfolds. So more than likely, we will come back to this conversation.
Exactly. And as I mentioned at the very top of the hour, next Thursday at 11 o'clock, go on to our YouTube channel and we're going to premiere the show live and we're going to be there so we can talk as a community, answer questions, support each other. So it's a great time for us to connect. So I'm going to be on there. I don't know if the other hosts can or not, but I'll be there. Come on and let's just chat while the show premieres on YouTube next Thursday at 11 o'clock. Well, guys, this conversation has been a little heavy. Normally Brown Sugar, we're kind of upbeat and like, oh, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Now we're like, well, we got to go there.
Yeah,
but
if you guys were triggered or anyway by this conversation, just take a minute to ground yourself, a couple of deep breaths, drink something nourishing, some water, some tea, hug your loved ones. But, we understand this is a heavy topic. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally as we go through these times.
Absolutely. And as always, we say to you out there listening, stay safe and play safe. We will see you next week on Brown Sugar Confessions that you can only get live on Power 1017. We'll see you next week, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Brown Sugar Confessions on Power 1017. Go to our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram page at Brown Sugar Confessions to like, share, and follow. Stay safe and play safe. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.